Alright, so now we're going to take you on a little tour of the truck. We'll walk you around the outside and show you some of the upgrades that we've made to it. So here's our truck. As we said, it has the 6.7 Cummins engine in it. Oh man, that's sad. It's quite dirty right now. That needs to be cleaned. The engine is pretty much stock, except we do have a tuner that we tuned it to a little custom tune for our liking. Up front here, you'll see that we added a big light bar to the front, which is fantastic for when we go off-grid and do some boondocking. Really lights the night up and helps us get into those places that you don't really have good light otherwise. Another thing you'll see that I've added to the front is in here, I just have some metal screen inside the grill. That is just to help keep the bugs out of the radiator. We had bugs really pack our radiator a couple times, and then you start to see the truck heating up a little more than normal. It's difficult to clean them out. That screen is nice because it keeps the bugs out, and then we can just pull the screen out and clean it off. This is standard on most of the big Dodge trucks. The mirrors, they don't extend in and out, but they fold out for your tow mirrors. They pretty much stay out all the time for us, but the mirrors we've really liked on this truck. They provide excellent visibility, towing and not towing. On the back of the truck, you'll see we've added this tonneau cover. This has been really, really nice. We keep it closed most of the time because we could be going down the highway in heavy rain and still keep our stuff dry inside. This was only like a $200 or $300 cover on Amazon, and we have really, really liked it. Another upgrade we've made to the truck is dual rear wheels can be extremely difficult to inflate, so we added some extensions on them to make them easy to check the pressure and inflate the tires from the outside. Unfortunately, that meant we had to lose our center hubcap, but for the convenience of it, that didn't matter. While we're down here, you'll see this truck has the B&W companion hitch in here, the ball hitch. It came with that, so we decided to use that for adapting to a fifth wheel hitch. We'll talk about that in a minute. Another thing we added to this truck is airbags. We just have two little air inflation things here. They look like your regular tire inflation. These go to airbags that are underneath the truck. The airbags sit up above the axles right there, and the same on the other side. We can inflate and deflate those to adjust the stiffness of the suspension and better carry the weight of the fifth wheel. Also get the truck to ride perfectly level when going down the road with the fifth wheel attached, which is really nice. When we detach for a long period of time, we deflate the air because otherwise it makes the suspension really stiff. So it's really nice to be able to control the quality of the suspension in the rear of the truck. When we got the truck, it had 3.42 gear ratio, and that's not really great for towing super heavy, so we switched the gears out in the differential to 410 gears, and we also increased the capacity of the differential cover, which provides more oil capacity, and it's finned to help keep the differential cool. When we started out towing, we had a B&W companion fifth wheel hitch that drops into the ball of the B&W underbed hitch. That turned out to be extremely heavy and a little bit clunky. We switched to this Anderson Ultimate fifth wheel connection, which is a ball and has the adapter on the kingpin that you can see right there. And that has been absolutely fantastic for us in our towing situation. We've liked it so much that we actually sell these hitches. You can go to mortontrailersupply.com if you'd be interested in one of these, or contact me. I'd be happy to talk to you about this hitch. But that's another thing that we've added to this truck as well. I think the last thing I can think of that we've done exterior-wise to upgrade this truck is we added some fancy mud flaps here. If you come to this side, you'll see that they have some fancy spray-resistant lining, and that helps keep the spray down. When you're a big dually truck going down the road, you pick up a lot of water if you're in the rain, and these help keep down the mist and spray and keep us from really soaking our RV. So we've also added a few things inside the cab. I think I'll hand it over to Caitlin to let her give you a tour of the cab.
So we drive this thing all the time as our primary vehicle, so it was also kind of important that it actually be somewhat comfortable to ride in. So we've got the 4 doors, so the full cab, and that was so that we have more storage in the back here, and the dogs ride in here with us, so they have a full back seat. Open that up and show you guys. It's kind of a mess, and that's pretty much how it is all the time. We usually have this thing packed with stuff, and there's dog beds on here, but a couple of really neat things in here are we've got a lot of storage containers. Actually, that's just a speaker. There's a storage container over there. We've also got this little storage container here, and there's another one on the other side that we can keep stuff in. Nice pockets behind the chairs here. The dogs use those all the time. Generally pretty comfortable, and when we meet up with other people, it's great because we can fit a lot of people in here. So the front of the cab, pretty spacious, although I get a lot of questions about how comfortable it is to sit in here, because there's this part right here that kind of interferes with your foot space. I haven't had a problem with it, but it might be an issue for some people. But this model comes with a bench seat versus the center console. And at first we were like, we really don't want a bench seat, but it has come really in handy for when we have multiple people wanting to go somewhere. This truck can easily fit 6 people. Not for extremely long trips, but it does get done. And that just slides up there. We got another seat. We've got cup holders. We've got all kinds of storage under this seat. And this part does have a lot of storage in it as well. So lots of places to put things. The chairs are pretty comfortable, but as you can see, we both have cushion seats on there. It just makes it a little bit more comfy. This is the Laramie edition of the truck, which means it's got the leather seats and it's got heated seats, actually a heated steering wheel. We didn't know we needed that, but it turns out that you do need that. And it's got the nice features like the electric moving seats and things like that. So overall, we're pretty comfortable in here. All right, so then from a technology perspective, this thing's pretty tricked out, and we've added quite a few things ourselves to upgrade it and get the job done. One of the first things we upgraded was the brake controller. This thing came with one, but it really just didn't get the job done right. This is a Takansha P3 brake controller that we've been using and has been working really well for us. We also have a new cam dash cam that we recently installed that records everything that happens, automatically turns on when the truck comes on. So in the case of an accident or something, we've got video footage of that. We also have our 120 volt outlet here so that we can plug in, say, a laptop or something and work from the truck or whatever else we need to power. We've recently also installed this RVS backup camera that we're going to be reviewing here soon. And then we have the Giraffe G4, which is an overhead height detector that measures things so that you know you're not going to hit your RV on something that's too low. So we will also be reviewing that in an upcoming video. Watch for that. We also use an OBD2 diagnostic device that plugs into the OBD2 port down here and gives us all kinds of diagnostic and performance data, which Tom really loves because he likes to watch all the specs on the engine, on how it's working, making sure it's working properly. So this thing's pretty cool. One final thing I want to mention about this truck is that it's got an engine brake, which has saved our brakes and probably our lives because it is awesome. It basically makes the truck slow down without the brakes. Tom could give you a much better and technical description of what that is. I'll now hand it over to him to talk more about the performance of the truck.
So this truck has about 170,000 miles on it now. We've owned it for about 50,000 miles, and with the truck and trailer combined, we weigh a bit over 24,000 pounds. So how does it perform at 24,000 pounds? I can't complain. It runs 55 to 70 miles per hour on the highway in 6th gear just fine. Rarely shifts out of 6th gear until you start to climb a steep hill. For say like a 7% grade, we can usually run about 55 miles per hour. Sometimes we'll have to drop down to 4th gear or so if we're climbing a really steep grade for a really long time. But we can almost always run faster than the semis, and the truck has never seemed to be overworked. I monitor the temperature of the truck and transmission religiously when I'm towing. I've never seen the truck over 222 degrees. It'll kick the fan on full blast and keep her underneath that temperature, which is well within specs of the truck. The transmission has gotten hot only a couple times on occasion, and that's if we're going really slow, like up a super windy mountain road, and it can't lock the torque converter in the transmission. I have seen it get pretty hot. We've never overheated, but it has warmed warmed up to the point that we've had to slow down and let her cool down. That's really kind of one of the only cons I have to say about this truck, is that the transmission doesn't lock up until about 30 miles per hour, which is, in my opinion, much too high. There are tunes you can put on this truck to lower that, and I believe that the later models of this truck with their Asian transmission do lock up considerably sooner to help with towing really slowly in steep grades. As Caitlin said, this truck does have an engine brake, which works very, very well. This truck can hold itself at 7% or even a little bit greater just fine without using the brakes at all, which is huge. It saves our brakes a ton and adds a lot more control in downhill ascents. Basically, when you tell the truck to use the engine brake in tow haul, it will automatically downshift, or you can manually downshift it because it has that capability right here. On the shifter, you see that it has a plus and minus, so I can manually shift the transmission into what gear I want. You downshift it, it runs the engine brake, which basically puts back pressure on the engine. You'll hear it go kind of like a semi-truck, except not quite as loud, and it really retards the movement of the trailer and slows the truck down. So how about fuel economy? I've been extremely impressed with the fuel economy of this truck. When we're towing, flat level towing, we average 10 to 13 miles per gallon depending on wind. Wind and hills, of course, make a huge difference in fuel economy. At the lowest, we'll average like 9, but usually it's 10 to 13 miles per gallon when we're towing, which is fantastic in my opinion. We just ran a tank empty. We averaged like 20 to 22 miles per gallon running this truck empty, which again I think is pretty fantastic for a truck of this size.
So the final topic that we wanted to talk about today is the reliability of this truck over the past 2 years that we've been on the road. And if you've been following our journey with us, which I hope you are, you've probably seen that we have had a few breakdowns and a few things that we've had to do to maintain the truck.
So overall, considering the job that this thing does, I'd say that it's been not too bad. It hasn't ever stranded us on the side of the road, but it has caused some pretty big headaches. The biggest repair that we've had is we had a major oil leak, which was caused by a clogged crankcase ventilation filter. There's a whole video about that and what we had to go through. I'll put a link to that below or probably at the end of this video. Check that out if you're curious. For that repair, we ended up taking this truck to a semi-truck repair place because, again, the Cummins engine isn't really a Dodge thing and we're out of warranty. I didn't really feel comfortable having the dealer work on it, as they've told me some really stupid things before. I didn't trust them. So if you have a big truck like this engine is used in a lot of heavy-duty trucks, so semi-truck repair places are very familiar with it, and they did a great job getting it fixed up for us.
Another major thing that happened was our front end wore out, so the ball joints and the tie rods, and those are just going to wear out over time no matter what truck you had. Given the size of this truck, it was kind of difficult to, lift it up and get that work done, but we were able to do that with the assistance of a good friend.
Another frustration we've had with this truck is that the water pump has failed twice on it, and I think that it failed once before we even owned it. It just seems to be going out way too often. Luckily, it gives a lot of warning signs before it goes out, and it was relatively easy fix that we're able to do ourselves.
So besides those major breakdowns and fixes, we have been able to do all of the regular maintenance ourselves. Everything including, but not limited to, the rotation of tires, the replacing of coolant, the adjusting of valve lashes on the engine, etc.
Oil changes, all that stuff.
Yeah, so this truck has been pretty easy for us, meaning mostly Tom, to maintain. He does make me do a lot of the work with him. But so it's been a good truck. We've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, overall I've been pretty happy with it. It drives really well. It's fantastic on the highway. It goes down the road straight. It tows really well. I mean, when we have the trailer behind us, you don't even know it's there a lot of times. Once you're on the highway and just going down the road, it's so easy to drive. So I can't argue with that. I think that wraps up most of what we have to go over on this truck right now. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So shoot them on over. But that's about it for our truck.
Yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Like you said, leave questions and comments below. If you haven't already joined us on our journey, we'd love to have you along. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll hope to see you next time.
Bye.